Hey YouTubers, this is Bomerfett, and today what we're going to talk about is how to build an essentially free science ship build. You can do this with tactical or engineering or anything else. I just happen to use science because that was the tune that I was on when I decided to do this. All we're going to be using in this particular ship build is mission reward drops. And there are going to be a couple of exceptions to that just because there are a couple of things that you can't pick up from mission reward drops. But one of those being the secondary deflector. The reason that I decided to do this build is because I see a lot of videos out there about budget builds, and in these budget builds what you end up seeing is a bunch of guys that are using one or more lockbox components, which automatically makes it not budget, or they're using stuff that's on the exchange for tens if not hundreds of millions of EC, and that's not very budget. You have to spend a lot of time grinding and doing things like that to build these ships when you could do it literally. All the components on here are from mission reward drops. So we'll take a look at what we have real quick. Okay, so what we have here is the Nausicaan Disruptor Beam Array. The reason that I went with the Nausicaan Disruptor Beam Array is because it has a nice three-piece bonus. And we do have all three pieces. With the three-piece bonus, you get a bonus 26.6 disruptor damage and plus 50 starship hull penetration. The three pieces to this set are the Nausicaan Disruptor Beam Array, the Nausicaan Energy Torpedo, and the Nausicaan Siphon Capacitor. All three of those pieces can be picked up at Echoes of Light. So all of those are rewards for running Echoes of Light. One of the things that I found in running these, trying to get all these rewards, is that a lot of the missions that give you the good drops are missions that are pretty long, and you have to run them 2 and 3 times to get the pieces that you want out of them. But this is one that you will have to run 3 times. Next we have the Resonant Disruptor Beam Array. I went with the Resonant Disruptor Beam Array just to go with the other disruptor weapons that I have on here. Normally on a science build you wouldn't necessarily worry about having all of the same style weapon, but in this particular case, since we're not going to have as much EPG as we normally would on a build where we were spending money or spending lots of EC or getting fleet holdings, things of that nature, then as you can see, this is our EPG is only 224 on this one, and our control expertise is only 139. So this is having the same weapons is going to help us get as much boost as we can out of the weapons and get as much damage with the weapons, because we're not going to be able to rely as heavily on the science abilities as we normally would. We have the Plasma Disruptor Hybrid Beam Array. This one can be picked up on the Federation side from Past Imperfect. On the Klingon side, it can be picked up from Second Star to the right and straight on to Morning. And on the Romulan, it can be picked up on Smash and Grab. Again, it has disruptor damage, but it also has a plasma proc with it, so it's a very nice weapon. Also in the back, we have House of Martok Disruptor. This is a 360 degree disruptor, so I picked this up. One of the reasons is because it is 360 degrees, and we'll be able to have that much more firepower or hits with it, because we'll be able to fire at all times with it. But it also has a 2-piece bonus. It has a 3-piece bonus, but I didn't want to use the torpedo as well. The 2-piece bonus has a 2.5% critical chance and a 15% accuracy, or plus 15 to accuracy. The House Martok Disruptor can be picked up at Brushfire. You have to run Brushfire, so that you'll have to be level 60 to run this one. We also have our Subspace Field Modulator. The Subspace Field Modulator is picked up by running Skirmish. We have the Solanae Deflector Array, the Solanae Impulse Engine, and the Solanae Shield. All three of those are picked up from running A Step Between the Stars. And then we have the Obelisk Warp Core, and the Obelisk Warp Core is picked up by running Surface Tension. Unfortunately, there is no secondary deflector that is a mission reward. You can pick up secondary deflectors as actual drops while you're out doing kills and things of that nature. So I crafted this, and I crafted it as a Mark II, and I went to level it up to Mark 12, and it accidentally procced. But this one is the deteriorating secondary deflector. And the reason I crafted it at Mark II is because it still goes along with our essentially free ship build that we have here. So if we go into our R&D and we go to science and we go to secondary deflector, to make a Mark II secondary deflector, as you can see, it only costs you one particle field generator and one lab equipment. So it's really, really cheap to build. It only takes a few minutes to build it at Mark II. And with one superior tech upgrade, you can level it all the way to Mark 10 if you want. Or you can, I think it cost me, actually I can tell you exactly how much it cost me. Inventory, R&D. Okay, it took me 8 superior tech upgrades to get it to Mark 12. So you can spend 8 superior tech upgrades to get it to Mark 12. Now, it's going to vary. It may take you 8, it may take you 9, it may take you 10, it may take you 7. It depends on how many times that you get that little proc for the 1.5 bonus it hits from time to time. This one actually hit quite often for me. I was pretty lucky. So we already talked about the House Martok. This is also picked up with Brushfire. This is the second piece to this 2-piece set with the 360 Disruptor Martok beam array. Okay, so this is Universal Console Chronoton Drive Actuator. This one is actually from the Temporal Reputation set, and I'm not real sure why I use this because I was trying not to use anything from the Reputation. But since it's already here, we'll go ahead and run with it. And it's actually, I believe, it looks like the only piece on here that's from the Reputation set. So this should keep us in line with having a fairly cheap build. So since we're going to go ahead and use this, what I didn't tell you about the other one, we'll go back to it in just a second. It gives us a +5 to weapon power, +5 to shield power, plus 18.8 to starship control expertise, and plus 9.4 to shield capacity. Go back to the House of Martok console. This is the engineering console from the House of Martok. This is the defense configuration. It gives us 10% maximum hit points, plus 5 to shield power, plus 5 to engine power, plus 7.5% to maximum shield capacity, and plus 16% flight turn rate. Then moving on to our last engineering console, that would be the Trillium D-plating. The Trillium D-plating is a mission reward drop from the mission Ragnarok. It gives us 13.3 all damage resistance, plus 20 starship hull capacity, plus 13.3% to maximum shield capacity. And then it adds 7.5% to your auxiliary power from your shield power as a bonus. And it makes you immune to Delphic Expanse. Moving down here to our science consoles. Our science consoles, the first one we have is the Nausicaan Siphon Capacitor. The Nausicaan Siphon Capacitor, again, is the one part of the 3-piece set with our weapons on our front arc. It gives us 31.5 shield drain expertise, 26.7 power transfer rate, and 20% to disruptor damage. And then on top of that, it does have the 3-piece bonus, and it gives us an additional, I believe, yes, 26.6 disruptor damage on top of it. So total with the 3-piece, you get 46.6 disruptor damage out of this. And plus with the 3-piece set, you also get the plus 50 starship hull penetration. Now this one here is a crafted item. This is the Exotic Particle Field Exciter. You can craft it yourself, have a fleet mate craft it for you, or you can pick it up on the exchange. Currently, right now on the exchange, they're going for about 100,000 EC. Far cry from the tens of millions of EC that most people are running. They give you a plus 30 to starship exotic particle generators. So when you're doing a science build, obviously the exotic particle generators is a big part of that. And it gives you plus 20 to maximum shield capacity. And then when activated, it also gives you plus 10 to your weapons power. And it gets activated by doing a shield heal. The effect of the weapons power lasts for 10 seconds. It can take effect every 30 seconds. Next, we have the Temporal Disentanglement Suite. The Temporal Disentanglement Suite is a drop from the Mission Butterfly. It gives you plus 4 to auxiliary power, plus 20% maximum shield capacity, anywhere between 0 to 2.5% critical chance based on your auxiliary power levels. Since we are running a science ship, our auxiliary power levels will be very high. A 0 to 10% critical severity based on auxiliary levels again. And it gives you 3% shield resistance. It is part of a 3-piece set, but I'm not running any of the other pieces for this set. Next, we have the Science Console. And the temporally shielded data core comes from the future-proof mission Temporal Reckoning. It gives us plus 40 physical damage, plus 26.7 kinetic damage resistance rating, plus 20 Starship exotic particle generators, again needed for science, plus 22 Starship control expertise. And in this current build, we are running control stuff. We have both the gravity well and the tractor beam on this particular build. Next, we have the Tactical Console Harmonic Resonance Relay. It is part of the Resonant Disruptor beam array that we ran up here. And that comes from Blood of the Ancients as well. With this 2-piece set, we get plus 3.6 to weapons power. And then Resonance Disruptor Wave increases its energy damage dealt to shields by 15%. So it gives you a bonus of the resonance proc that's on the beam array that's up here. You can only run one of these beam arrays, guys, so don't try running this mission like 15 times so that you can load your whole ship up with these beam arrays. You can only pick up one. Otherwise, you're going to be just wasting your time running the mission. This particular console also gives us plus 20% to disruptor damage, plus 20% to transphasic projectile weapons. And we don't have any transphasic projectile weapons, but the third piece in this set is a transphasic torpedo. So if you want to go with that route. The reason that I went with the Nausicaan 3-piece instead of this 3-piece was because the Nausicaan 3-piece is actually, the third set is better for what I'm trying to build. It may work better for you in your particular build, but for me it's this third piece in the set. The bonus is not going to do me very much good. And then it also has piercing weapons proc to it, which gives you plus 4 to armor penetration for weapons. Next, we have the Tactical Console Chronometric Capacitor. It can be picked up by running Time and Tide. It gives you plus 20% to Polaron damage. I'm not running Polaron at all, so that's kind of a useless proc for us. But what we will be using it for will be the 2.7 to weapons power, the 30 to the Starship EPG, and plus 20% to torpedo weapons damage, which will be very useful to us because we will be running torpedo spread. So let's go over to our traits. Also, in continuing with the not getting stuff from lockboxes and stuff, I took off all of my traits that were lockbox traits, and I took off all of my Starship traits that were picked up from T6 ships. So we're running the Photonic Capacitor, which comes automatically with a Science Human. We're running the Regenerative Control Synergy, which is a reward drop, a mission drop. We are running Point Blank Shot, which is also a mission drop. Techie, Particle Manipulator. The rest of these are just from being a science officer. So we're Fleet Coordinator, Innocuous, Operative, and Conservation of Energy. Okay, for the Starship trace, what we're running is Critical Systems. Critical Systems is a reward giving from the Temporal Agent. So running your Temporal Agent missions will give you Critical Systems. Nonlinear progression comes from your Temporal Operative Specialization tree. Pedal to the Metal comes from your Pilot Specialization tree. Enhanced Power Condensers comes from the Breen Resurith Dreadnought Cruiser that was a winter event ship giveaway. And Temporal Insight comes from running your Delta Recruit. So I'm going to assume that people have run through their reputation. So for my space reputation, what I'm running is the Auxiliary Power Configuration Defense. I'm running the Chrono Capacitor Array. It gives me a plus 7.5 Bridge Officer ability recharge speed. Going back to the Auxiliary Power Configuration Defense with my current auxiliary power settings, because it fluctuates based off of your auxiliary power settings, I get 19.7 all damage resistance rating. I get 4.9% maximum hit points and 4.9% maximum shield capacity. I'm also running the Omega Graviton Amplifier, and as you can see, that is pretty much affecting every single one of my beam arrays. I'm running the Particle Generator Amplifier that gives me a 5% bonus to exotic damage. I'm also using the Torpedo Astrometric Synergy, using a Torpedo Bridge Officer ability such as Torpedo High Yield, or in my case, Torpedo Spread 2, reduces the recharge time for your Science Bridge Officer abilities, which is very important to me, obviously, because I want to keep my Gravity Well and my Tractor Beam and my Subspace Vortex running as often as possible. For my active reputation, the space ones that I am running are the Quantum Singularity Manipulator. One of the main reasons why I run this one is every time you pop this one off, you have a 100 plus 100 to your science stats for 8 seconds. So all of your science stats get increased by 100. Unfortunately, this does have a 5-minute cooldown, so you'll probably only be able to run it once during any given mission. The next space one that I'm running is the Refracting Tetryon Cascade. The Refracting Tetryon Cascade obviously is a weapon. And I'm also running the Biomolecular Shield Generator, which is a good defense whenever you're running against something that has taken down all your shields. Okay, for my Bridge Officer stations, what I'm running is a Human Tactical Officer, Tactical Team 1, Torpedo Spread 2. On my Engineer, I'm running Emergency Power to Weapons 1 and Directed Energy Modulation. The reason that I'm running those two is again, we're not going to be able to get as much of the damage that we normally would get off of the science powers, so we're going to be relying a little bit on our beam powers. Hazard Emitters 1 for a little bit of a heal and to remove any debuffs. Destabilizing Resonance Beam 1. Subspace Vortex 3. Gravity Well 3. And the way that I like to run this is I'll run my Gravity Well 3, then immediately follow it by Subspace Vortex 3, and then I'll pop over here to this particular Bridge Officer and run Destabilizing Resonance Beam 2, and then when I get close enough, I'll hit Tractor Beam 2. And while I'm doing all that, I'll also hit my Exotic Particle Flood Battery. I'm running in 2 Science Team 1s. For my skill specializations, I'm running Temporal Operative as my active primary. As you can see, I don't have it filled all the way out yet. I just recently started working on this one. And for my secondary, I'm actually running Pilot. And the main reason that I'm running Pilot right now is because this is the one that I have the most in, because this particular tune that I'm using is a secondary toon for me, so I have not played a lot with him since they come out with these skill trees. So the only thing we have left to do is go ahead and queue up for an infected space. We'll run it at least 3 times to make sure that we have good data to pull from, and we'll go from there, see what the results are. As you can see, we had a pretty decent run there on the infected space. Using all mission rewards, we were able to run 20k on a science vessel. It wasn't bad. It was a little bit of a rough run because of the lack of DPS all the way across the board, but it was a pretty decent run. If we go into our analysis, you can see that the subspace vortex was the #1 hitter other than the pets. Gravity well was shortly thereafter. So I was actually expecting to see the disruptor arrays further up on the list, but it looks like the science abilities actually hit harder than the arrays. So I'm actually pretty pleased to see that. I didn't think they'd be able to with the mission rewards. I thought that we would have to have some more fancy stuff in there to get our EPG levels up higher, and that's just not the case. So I'm actually really impressed with the way that this turned out, and really pleased with it. And so as you can see, you can clearly run without having to spend any real world money or spend months and months grinding for EC, and you can still have a very good ship, very solid ship. And 20k DPS is very good. It's definitely makes the game very playable, and you have a lot of fun doing it, and you can handle just about anything. So that about wraps up the video here. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. Please like and share. And if you hadn't already hit that subscribe button, mash on that subscribe button, and I'll have more content coming out to you in the future. Thank you very much, guys.